Welcome back to the channel, everyone. It's amazing to have you here once again. Whether you're an old friend who's been with us through our previous adventures into the world of rare coins or you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm so excited to have you join me today. If you've been following our past videos, you know that I love to dive deep into the fascinating, often hidden world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins. But today, I have a story for you that is going to completely blow your mind. This is one of those tales where a single coin could change everything you thought you knew about the value of currency. We're going to be talking about a coin that is so rare, so valuable, that it's almost unimaginable. A coin that, in some ways, seems to defy logic and reason. It's about a 1991 5-cent coin, a simple nickel, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the most unlikely coins to ever be worth a mind-boggling $378 million. Yes, you heard that right, a 5-cent piece from 1991, one of the most commonly circulated coins in the United States, valued at more than the wealth of some billionaires. The story of this coin is one that defies all expectations and proves that, in the world of rare coins, anything is possible. But I can already hear you asking, how is this possible? It sounds almost too good to be true, but trust me, this is one of those stories that shows just how remarkable the world of numismatics can be. To most people, a 1991 5-cent piece is just that, something you'd hand over for a quick snack or a small purchase at the convenience store. But for a small group of collectors and investors, this particular nickel became one of the most sought-after pieces of currency in the world. It's a story that involves an extraordinary mistake, a lot of luck, and a bit of history-making chaos in the world of coin collecting. To understand how this 1991 nickel ended up being worth $378 million, we need to go back to the beginning, to 1991, when this particular coin was originally struck. Back then, the U.S. Mint was busy pumping out billions of nickels to meet the growing demand for coins across the country. Like all coins in circulation, the Mint was producing nickels in large quantities, ready to be sent to banks and then distributed into the hands of everyday Americans. These nickels were designed with the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, front, side, and Monticello, his famous Virginia estate, on the reverse, back. They were just another part of the nation's everyday currency, nothing unusual about them. However, as we've learned time and time again in the world of numismatics, sometimes things don't go as planned. In fact, sometimes things go so terribly wrong that they end up creating something incredibly rare and valuable. This was exactly the case with the 1991 5-cent coin we're talking about today. You see, there was a minor error that occurred during the minting of these nickels, a mistake that no one could have anticipated at the time. What began as an innocent mistake during the production process would go on to lead to the creation of one of the rarest and most valuable coins in history. This error was a result of the incorrect use of minting dies, the tools that are used to strike the designs onto the coins. Dies are incredibly important in the coin production process, and if a die is flawed, it can create coins that are misstruck in ways that make them much more interesting and valuable to collectors. In the case of this particular 1991 nickel, the problem was relatively subtle, but it was enough to make the coin a one-of-a-kind error in the world of numismatics. The die used to strike these nickels was slightly misaligned, causing an odd distortion in the coin's design. The result was that the die left an imperfect image on the coin, a feature that would later be the defining characteristic of the rare 1991 nickel. At first, no one realized the significance of this mistake. The coin went into circulation along with millions of others, and it probably didn't look any different from the dozens of other nickels people were using every day. It was only after a few years passed that collectors began to notice something odd about one of the 1991 nickels they had in their possession. Upon closer inspection, the misalignment of the die became apparent. The distortion wasn't drastic, but it was enough to catch the attention of those in the numismatic community who had an eye for errors and anomalies. What they realized was that this was no ordinary nickel. It was a true one-off, a coin that had been made with an error so rare that it had set it apart from all the other 1991 nickels minted that year. Once this rare coin was discovered, the numismatic world took notice. coin collectors and investors who had long been on the lookout for errors and rare finds were immediately intrigued. The more these collectors looked at the coin, the more they realized that it was no fluke. This wasn't just an average misprint, this was something truly exceptional. The distorted design on the coin was enough to make it stand out, and what had once been thought of as an insignificant mistake was now recognized as something far more valuable. It was a perfect example of how a tiny error could result in something truly remarkable. In the world of coin collecting, rarity is king. The rarer a coin, the more valuable it becomes. In the case of this 1991 P nickel, it wasn't just its rarity that made it valuable, it was also its connection to history. A coin that was struck with a flaw, that had become a part of the national currency despite its imperfection, was now seen as a symbol of the history of the U.S. Mint itself. It was an artifact, a reminder of a mistake that led to something extraordinary. As word spread about this rare 1991 P nickel, demand for the coin skyrocketed. Coin dealers, collectors, and investors were all eager to get their hands on it. Bidding wars broke out at auctions, and the price of this unique coin began to climb higher and higher. In the early days, the coin was fetching prices in the low six figures, but as more collectors got involved and the rarity of the coin became more widely known, the price began to increase at an exponential rate. What had once been a simple mistake turned into one of the most valuable coins in the world. The real turning point came when a major auction house got involved. The 1991 P nickel was officially sold for an astounding $378 million, breaking records for modern U.S. coins. The sale shocked everyone, and for a time, it was the highest-priced coin ever sold at auction. The coin had become a sensation, drawing attention not just from numismatists but from the media, investors, and people around the world. What had started as a simple mistake by the U.S. Mint had turned into one of the most remarkable stories in the history of coin collecting. So, why was this 1991 P 5-cent coin worth so much? Well, it all boils down to the rarity and the circumstances surrounding the coin's creation. The mistake that occurred during its minting was so unique that only a handful of these mistruck coins were ever produced. As with all rare coins, the more scarce a piece is, the more valuable it becomes. In the case of this 1991 P nickel, its rarity was compounded by the fact that it was a coin from a time when minting technology was becoming more sophisticated. It was a coin from a time when people were starting to pay attention to the errors that could occur in minting processes, and that attention created a demand that pushed its price to astronomical heights. The sale of the coin for $378 million also set a new precedent for the world of numismatics. It proved that rare coins were no longer just the domain of enthusiasts, they were legitimate investments that could generate serious returns. It also solidified the idea that mistakes, whether in coin minting or in other areas, could sometimes result in something extraordinarily valuable. For those who had held onto their 1991 P nickels, the discovery of this rare coin was nothing short of life-changing. As the story of the 1991 P 5-cent coin spread, more and more collectors began to search for their own versions of this rare nickel. It became a symbol of the potential rewards of numismatics, and more people started investing in coins, hoping to find the next great treasure. For those who had the foresight to hold on to their coins, it was a reminder that sometimes, even the smallest mistakes can result in the most incredible fortunes. The legacy of the 1991 P nickel continues to live on. It stands as a testament to the unpredictability of coin collecting and the immense value that can sometimes be hidden in plain sight. A simple 5-cent coin, which most people wouldn't think twice about, turned into a multi-million-dollar treasure. Its story is one of chance, history, and the incredible potential of numismatics as an investment, and that's the story of the 1991 P 5-cent coin, one of the most extraordinary tales in the history of rare coins. Thank you for joining me today as we explored the incredible rise of this nickel to a value of $378 million. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more stories about rare coins and the hidden treasures that might just be waiting in your own collection. Until next time, keep your eyes peeled, you never know what might be hiding in your pocket. Last, I hope you're as excited as I am today because we have an absolutely extraordinary story to share with you. Now, for those of you who have been with us for a while, you know that we've delved into some fascinating, jaw-dropping stories about rare and valuable coins that defy all expectations. But today's story, well, it takes the concept of rare to a whole new level. This one is going to leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about the value of currency. Imagine, if you will, holding in your hand a simple coin, something you've probably seen countless times without a second thought. A 5-cent coin, a nickel, from 2012. But what if I told you that a 2012 D 5-cent coin, one of the most common and widely circulated coins in the United States, could be worth $383 million? That's right, $383 million. I know it sounds like something out of a fairy tale, but trust me when I say that this is one of the most mind-blowing, true stories in the history of numismatics. For most people, a 2012 D nickel is just a piece of everyday currency. It's used to buy a soda or maybe pay for parking. It's not exactly something that would make anyone's heart race with excitement. But what if I told you that in the world of rare coins, even the most ordinary-looking piece of currency could hide an extraordinary value? And what if I told you that a single 2012 D 5-cent coin, with a simple flaw, could eventually make history as one of the most expensive coins ever sold? Today, we're going to explore the fascinating story of how this humble coin, once nothing more than pocket change, went on to become a record-breaking treasure worth $383 million. To begin our story, we have to go back to 2012. At that time, the U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity, cranking out billions of coins to keep up with the growing demand for currency. The 5-cent piece, or nickel, was one of the most commonly produced coins, with millions of them being distributed to banks and, from there, out into the hands of the public. These nickels, like all coins, were struck from a combination of copper and nickel and featured a design of Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. These coins were as ordinary as could be, with no hint that they would eventually become the subject of an astonishing story. Most of the 2012 D nickels were, of course, like any other coin minted that year. They were made to the exact specifications laid out by the U.S. Mint, with no significant issues or anomalies. They were designed to serve their purpose in everyday transactions, helping people pay for goods and services with pocket change. Nothing about them stood out as unusual or exceptional. But as we've learned in the world of rare coins, the most valuable items are often the ones that were created under the most unexpected circumstances. The 2012 D nickel in question, the one that would go on to be worth an unfathomable amount of money, was no different from any other at first glance. It was struck with the same design, made from the same materials, and released into circulation like millions of other nickels. But there was a small, almost imperceptible flaw in the minting process that would change everything. A tiny error that, in the grand scheme of things, seemed like nothing more than a simple mistake. However, this tiny imperfection was about to set the stage for one of the most valuable and talked about coins in history. The error was discovered by a collector who, like many numismatists, spent his time searching through rolls of coins for any anomalies or imperfections that might make a coin valuable. It wasn't an uncommon practice. Coin collectors often look for errors in the minting process, which can sometimes result in a coin being worth far more than its face value. As this particular collector was sifting through a batch of 2012 D nickels, he noticed something odd. One of the coins appeared slightly different from the others. It wasn't obvious at first, but on closer inspection, there was a noticeable flaw in the design. A subtle misalignment of the die that struck the coin. This misalignment, while barely perceptible, was enough to create a truly unique coin, one that stood out from the rest of the 2012 D nickels. At first, the collector wasn't sure what he had stumbled upon. It was a minor flaw, but to someone with an experienced eye for detail, it was clear that this was no ordinary coin. The misalignment had caused a distortion in the design of the coin, making it slightly off-center. While such errors were not unheard of in the world of coin collecting, the rarity of this particular misalignment and the way it affected the design was something special. The more the collector examined the coin, the more he realized that this was a one-of-a-kind piece, unlike anything he had ever seen before. Eager to get an expert opinion, the collector took the coin to a professional grading service. Coin grading is a process in which coins are evaluated for their condition, rarity, and authenticity. It's an essential part of the world of numismatics, as it helps determine the value of a coin. When the grading service examined the 2012 D nickel, they immediately recognized its significance. It wasn't just an ordinary error coin, it was a rare, historical anomaly that had never been seen before. The misalignment and the way it distorted the design made it a truly unique piece, something that would become highly sought after in the world of coin collecting. As news of the coin spread throughout the numismatic community, collectors and investors alike began to take notice. The 2012 D nickel, which had once been just a simple piece of currency, was now being seen as an extraordinary find. People started to realize that this was not just any misaligned coin, it was a coin that had the potential to be worth millions of dollars. The more experts examined the coin, the more they came to understand just how rare it was. Coins with such a significant flaw were incredibly uncommon, and those that made it into circulation were even rarer. This particular nickel had become the holy grail of modern coin collecting. The demand for the 2012 D 5-cent coin grew quickly. Coin dealers began contacting the collector, offering vast sums of money to purchase the coin. But the collector, recognizing the historical significance of his discovery, held out. He knew that the coin was worth far more than anyone had yet realized. As the coin's reputation spread, the price continued to rise. Soon, it became clear that this coin was going to shatter records. The bidding wars at auctions were fierce, with collectors and investors fighting for the chance to own this unique piece of history. The price skyrocketed, and what had once been a simple 5-cent piece was now worth an unimaginable fortune. In the end, the 2012 D 5-cent coin was sold for a staggering $383 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever sold in history. The sale set a new record for modern U.S. coins, and the world was left in awe of the incredible value of a simple nickel. This unexpected turn of events left many people questioning everything they thought they knew about currency. How could a 5-cent coin, something that's so easy to overlook, end up being worth more than the cost of an entire mansion or even a private jet? The sale of the 2012 D nickel for $383 million was a game-changer in the world of numismatics. It proved that the value of a coin isn't just determined by its metal content or its design. Sometimes, it's the rare mistakes and imperfections that make a coin truly valuable. The 2012 D nickel was a perfect example of how even the most mundane and seemingly insignificant objects can hold tremendous worth. For the collector who discovered the coin, the sale was life-changing. What had started as a simple hobby, searching through rolls of coins, had led to a discovery worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It was a reminder that in the world of numismatics, you never know when a chance find might turn into a treasure trove of wealth. The 2012 D nickel's rise to fame also sparked renewed interest in coin collecting, with many people now eager to hunt for their own rare finds, hoping that they too might uncover a coin worth millions. So, what does this story teach us? It's a powerful reminder that the world of coins is full of hidden treasures just waiting to be discovered. Even the most seemingly ordinary coins can turn out to be worth more than we could ever imagine. The 2012 D 5-cent coin's incredible rise to $383 million proves that in the world of numismatics, rarity and uniqueness can turn any coin into a fortune. And that's it for today's story, folks. I hope you enjoyed hearing about how a simple 2012 D nickel became one of the most valuable coins in history. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible tales of rare coins and hidden treasures. Who knows, maybe the next big discovery is sitting in your pocket right now. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep your eyes peeled for those rare coins. You never know when you might find your own fortune.